Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the PI Guy Saturday live stream answering your PI industry related questions. It's good to see everybody here. If you have any PI related questions, go down in the chat in the live stream and put them in there. I am going to try to get to as many questions as I can throughout this live stream. As well, you can also go into any of my videos in the comments and you can put a question in there as well, and I'll try to add those in. That's where I get a lot of my questions for these Saturday morning live streams, is out of the comments on my videos. So just a little bit of quick housework here, homework, I don't know what it is, a little bit of information here. I have been a little sick for the last week, got a bit of a cold. I'm still a little stuffy and things like that. So I'm probably going to go fairly quick through everything this morning, but I don't like to drag things on anyway. But I am starting to feel a little bit better. So I see people hopping in. So again, if you have any questions, PI industry related questions, hop down in the chat and let me know what they are, and I will try to get to as many as I can today. So we're going to our first question here. It is from Naj Mawali, 6281. He says, he or she, I'm not sure, but Naj says, someone is harassing me through Google number. How can I prove that? Thank you so much for the question. That is a difficult thing to prove. If it's a Google number and you know it's a Google number, you can try Googling the number yourself, checking the number out, see if you can see where it's related to something. You may consider hiring a private investigator and see if they have any tools. Sometimes they might have tools where they might be able to figure out who that's tied to, if they used it for a business or something like that. From my experience, usually don't come up with a lot of information on those disposable types of phone numbers. Probably about the only way you could really do it is get a subpoena to Google to produce the information about who that belongs to, what email they used, and things like that. That's not an easy thing to do either. You're going to need an attorney to do that. I'm not an attorney. I can't give you legal advice, but you would need an attorney to be able to do that, and the attorney would probably need to have a legal reason to ask the court to issue a subpoena to Google. And it is very difficult. You would want to make sure you have an attorney that is well versed in subpoenaing companies like Google and other social media and big internet companies like that, because there is a process you have to go through, and they will give you only exactly what you ask for. And a lot of times they will put motions to quash and all kinds of things like that. So it's difficult. I'm very sorry that somebody's harassing you, no matter how they're doing it. And I'm sorry I don't have a really quick, easy answer to figure out who it is and prove it. But if you know who it might be, that may help an attorney be able to get that subpoena. So I would say talk with an attorney. I know it's probably going to cost you some money, but I'd say talk with an attorney and see what they have to say there. Dave Drake, hi. I have been doing this for about 1.5 years, trial by fire. I'd really like to talk with you. Thanks so much, Dave. If you have questions, you can pop them into the chat here. You can put them into my comments. I'm not taking on any mentorships right now. My mentor calendar is pretty much booked up for this year and for next year, but I'm happy to try to answer any of your questions here on the live streams as much as I can. So, and you can go into any of my videos if something pops up during the week, and you can put them into my videos, and that's the ones that you see up here in the blue. Those are ones that people have put in my videos, and I've popped them in here. So our next question is from Ladybug947. Interesting story. Curious, isn't insurance doctor offices violating HIPAA to provide information to anyone but the patient? And Ladybug was watching a video where I was talking about a workers' comp case, I believe it was, where the insurance company had provided us information about the subject's doctor's appointments, upcoming doctor's appointments, when they were and where they were. And normally, like if I just called an insurance company or called a doctor's office and asked them, when is Bob Smith's next appointment, and they gave it to me, absolutely that would be a violation of HIPAA. But The insurance company, through that claim, the insurance company has a right to know when those appointments are, and so they get that information. And as a private investigator working for the insurance company, I am actually an extension of them because I'm contracted with them. It's like I'm an employee of them, so I'm able to have that information. I am not able to disseminate that information. I can't take that out and say, hey, did you hear about this guy or that guy or something like that, and hear about what he was doing or hear how he hurt himself. I can't disseminate that information in any way. But you're absolutely right. There are some HIPAA laws out there that would limit certain things. But when you're working for the insurance company on like a workers' comp or a slip and fall or some kind of an injury related case, you are essentially an extension of that insurance company. So you have to abide by their rules and their laws, but they are very able to give you that information legally, and that's just the way it works. Our next question is from Geld1620. I see a lot of people hopping in. If you have any questions, you can hop down in the chat and you can let me know what those questions are. I am going to try to get to as many questions as I can this morning. I am a little under the weather. I've been a little ill for the last week. I have a cold, a little stuffy, a little sniffly, but I'm getting through it. So I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. And as quickly as I can. So Geld 1620 says, hey John, I'm a guy that just started college and has been considering getting into a PI career for a while now. The thing is, more than anything, I want to be a present and loving father, so I just have to ask, how much free time do you have in this job? Is the lifestyle at all healthy, and is there any room for a side hustle? A lot of questions there. I'm going to try to get to each one of those questions. Geld, thank you so much for asking these questions too. First, I want to commend you for wanting to be a present and loving father. Your family has to be put ahead of everything else, no matter what. That's just my belief. Your family always has to be first and foremost in your life. And so going into some of the questions that you have in here, how much free time do you have in this job? And really the simple answer for all of these is it all depends. And we're going to go through some of the all depends things on there. So how much free time do you have in this job? Well, it all depends on what type of work you're doing, how much work you're accepting, and things like that. You have a lot of control usually because you're going to be running your own business of how much work you take on. When I first got started, I was doing workers' comp surveillance investigations. And I did that for the first 3 years before I started going out and trying to come up with my own clients. And when I did that, though, I started my business, and I have a bit of a business background. So I had a 3-year, a 5-year, and a long-term business plan, and I adjust those business plans every year. In fact, that's coming up here at the end of the year. I'll be adjusting my business plans. But when that initial 3-year business plan was put in place, because I wanted to get to a certain point within 3 years. I wanted to take this job, this very entry-level job, doing workers' comp surveillance investigations, and use it to learn how to be a private investigator, because I didn't know anything about investigations. I had a business background. I got a lot of knowing of a lot of doing, but I didn't know anything about being a PI. So I took on every case that I could, and I treated each one like a full-blown case. I created a case file. I did everything. I did all my research. I didn't go out and interview people if I wasn't asked to, because you can't do that. I didn't do the things that, a lot of the things that you might do like that, interviewing people and stuff like that, because you're not allowed to, and if you do that, you might end up getting fired from your client. But I treated it just like a regular case. I didn't just get the information in, go out, do my surveillance, get some video, and send a little report and send it in. I made sure that my reports were meticulously written, very detailed, because again, I treated everyone just like if it was a capital crime. I wanted to make sure that I was learning how to be a private investigator. But when I was doing that, I was spending a lot of time, 6-7 days a week out there doing surveillance. And the average surveillance job is 8 hours a day. So if you've got an hour on each side of that travel time, you got 10 hours. And if you've got report and video, you've got a 12 to 14 hour day. That is a lot of time. And when you're doing workers' comp kind of stuff, when you're doing subcontract work, you're not getting paid usually for drive time. You're not getting paid for mileage. You're not getting paid for report time and video time. At least I wasn't at that time. I'm not sure how a lot of people do that today. Me, when I subcontract somebody today, I pay them for everything because I believe that they should. But I didn't used to get that. So I had to put in a lot of time. But after that 3-year mark, I started working on getting my own clients. And as I got my own clients, I was able to charge those clients more. So I started out double my rate. And with that double my rate, I also charged them for mileage and travel time and everything else. So one day with a new client was worth 2 or 3 days with my subcontract. So I was able to stop taking as much work, and over a period of a couple of years I basically weaned myself off of that large subcontract client. So up front you can put a lot in, building a business and things like that. You don't necessarily have to, but you could put a lot of time in. As a business owner myself, I very closely manage my time because I am still a father, I am still a husband, I'm a grandfather. All of my children are out there in the adult world. They're out there adulting right now. But my family is still very important to me, and my free time is very important to me. And doing things like this, like the PI Guy channel, is very important to me, and I want to have the time to do that. So I manage. I am not working 40 hours a week out there doing investigations. I do spend a full time 40 to 60 hours a week working my business, but that can consist of a lot of different things, and marketing and answering the phones and doing the sales. I subcontract a lot of my work out so I can actually be here and do the desk work. So I hope that answers. It all depends. If you are committed to limited time, then you're able to make this kind of a job committed to that limited time. If you want to get in and you want to make $1 million a year, well, you're going to have to work 70, 80 hours a week, and you're going to have to do that for a long time before you ever get to that point. Is the lifestyle at all healthy? Again, it all depends. If you're doing surveillance, that's the hardest job to stay healthy at because it's so easy to stop and grab a cheeseburger and a soda, or grab a fast food breakfast, grab a candy bar, things like that, and you're sitting in your car for 8 hours or more a day. And that sounds very simple, but if you sit all cramped in a car because you can't stretch your legs out, now I like to hop in the back if I can, but if you can't, you're still going to be cramped up, and it's very hard to do any of that stuff. So it can be a little hard on the health factor depending on what you do and how you take care of yourself. If you are committed to living a healthy lifestyle, then you're going to do a whole lot better in doing that. If you're doing more office work, if you're doing regular things like that, criminal defense investigations, the healthy lifestyle is a lot easier because you're working in an office. You're able to get up and walk around and do things and stuff like that. Just stay away from the cheeseburgers and things like that. And is there any room for a side hustle? So when I think about that question, Gal, I'm thinking about a side hustle as in, if you're doing private investigation work, can you do a side hustle on the side, or can you use PI work as a side hustle for a full-time job or something like that? So if you're, I'll try to answer both of those. When I started as a PI, I again didn't have a whole lot of work. I was eventually working 6-7 days a week. But when I first started, I was literally getting 3 or 4 cases a month, and that was about it. And a 2-day case, you're talking about 8-10 days a week that you're working, and that's it. So I had side hustles that I worked to do that. On the flip side, as a PI, I had to have a side hustle. Now, can you do it as a side hustle? Absolutely. You can do this as a part-time gig. I know some people. In fact, I know a retired couple. I'm not sure if they still are doing it. They used to. I don't know if they're still doing it. But they just wanted a couple of cases a month to go out and do a little bit of surveillance. And they charged for one person, but the other one went out and helped because they could be together doing something. It was a little bit of extra income. They were retired, and they had fun going out and doing it. So you can definitely do it on both. If you want to go out and get with a surveillance company out there that's doing a lot of workers' comp, slip and fall, injury related kind of questions like that, then injury related work like that, then you can definitely find some of those that will just give you so much work. And if you tell them, I only want to work 2 days a week for you because I've got a full-time job and this is my availability, they can try to work that in for you. So I hope that helps there. So I'm going to go over here to some of the live questions, and I see a lot of people hopping in. If you have questions, hop down in the chat and let me know. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. I'm a newly registered PI. This is Larry Brightway. I'm sorry, I'm going to mess your name up, Larry. So I'm a newly registered PI. How do you design a contract for services? I'm glad you asked that, Larry. Let me show you the simplest way to do that. If you hop over to, let me make it all work here. If you hop over to my official PI Guy website, freeprivateinvestigatortraining.com, come over here, and if you go up here on the top and you go to PI books, the very first book you're going to run into, it talks a little bit about my background and stuff like that, but the very first book up here is Contracts for Private Investigators. And I wrote this book to help new private investigators. And I created a lot of courses to help new private investigators and stuff too. Because when I first got started, I had no idea of how to do any of this. So this book will walk you through step by step writing your own contract. And in fact, there's templates at the back. If you just want to photocopy them or you want to type those up yourself, you can do that. But this actually walks through the questions of how to write one of those, or how to write a contract. So that's a really good question. I'd suggest doing that. You can go out and hire an attorney to put one together. You're going to pay $1,000 or more for that. That book is based on my first contract that I had put together, and I had used all of my business experience that I had gathered over the years. I put together my own contract, and I actually had an attorney look at it and go through and kind of give me some ideas there. So hopefully that helps there, Larry. Dave Drake, when times are slow, drive for Lyft or Uber, best option. That is a good thing. That is really good as a side gig because times are slow. There are ebbs and flows in this business, to be sure. And Cinnamon, I see your question. Can we ask questions here? Absolutely. Any PI industry related questions, put them in the chat down below, and I will try to get to as many as I can. But there are slow periods in this industry, and we're coming up to that slow period that most of us will see during the holidays. November, December, January, February can get very, very slow. Depending on the type of work that you're doing and things like that. So absolutely go out and do other things. You're already expensing things for your business, so why not do something like an Uber or a Lyft or DoorDash or something like that? If you're physically able to do that and your car is going to be able to do all of that and things like that. That's my last question. I don't see any others that I need to answer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to fix these problems for the next one, and I'll talk to you guys later.